Hello and welcome. My name is Ryan Everson, and I am here today to talk about poverty in the United States. Often domestic poverty gets overlooked. As Americans, we kind of have a little bit of a superiority complex, like to always be the hero, and we like to try to go ahead and help abroad and don't really think about the problem that we have here right in our backyard. And I'm just going to shed a little bit of light on that today. The U.S. Census Bureau has about 48 different thresholds, what they consider to be the poverty line, if you will. That ranges anywhere from $11,000 for a single person home to around $40,000 for an 8-person home. Now, to kind of define who lives in poverty, that excludes anyone living in dorms, prisons, military barracks, or nursing homes. They are all excluded. About 45.3 million people are currently living in poverty in the United States today, which accounts for about 14.5% of our population, with about 14.2% of the metropolitan area population living within the poverty guidelines. Now that rate seems to be higher for children than it is for anyone between the ages of 18 and 64 or 65 or over. In addition, to do a little bit of a racial comparison, don't want to get into any of those issues at all, but it seems to be the highest rates of poverty exist in Native Americans, and the lowest rates of poverty are Asian American alone. Most likely these households are headed by a single parent of a lower level of education, usually never completing high school. Now I'm going to go and delve into the physical effects of poverty, if you will. The first and foremost I'll start with is low birth weight, which also leads to systemic affective issues, one being asthma that is more prevalent in the impoverished population. And due to the low level of housing available in the lower income areas, lead poisoning is a serious issue as well. On the educational aspect of things, there's a lower rate of high school completion. When you compare the ratio to impoverished children to those living in what's considered to be non-poor, it's about 21 to 9.6% of high school completion, or high school dropout rates, and also a rate of about 28.8 to 14.1 for grade repetition. Also, when you're comparing standardized testing, the children in impoverished areas tend to have lower verbal ability scores and higher rates of learning disabilities. Also, you go into the high level of teen and out of wedlock pregnancies, and these children more likely to be unemployed later in life. So it's kind of a systemic effect that's a constant circle, and it's hard to break. This also leads to poor home and neighborhood conditions with a lack of resources available. Also, a higher level of neglect, which causes some psychological and mental health issues as well. And like I went with the lack of resources, community-based resources, and just recreational activities in the areas which poverty is more prevalent is a huge issue as well. Solutions kind of went into what's wrong and exactly where the issues lie. So to try to combat the issue, there's some possible solutions to put out there, and one will be providing resources for parental education and implementing programs aimed at combating teen pregnancy. That's kind of the first to try to break the cycle initially, because, like I said, it's a systemic effect that goes round and round and round unless never broken. So to try to provide the better resources for more responsible parenting, and I know there's programs out there now like Planned Parenthood and everything. Most of them are, highly controversial, and just generalize better education in the schools as a whole. And then another one will be investing in early education of the children living in these more impoverished areas. There's a lot of resources available to children as far as, study programs and mentorships and things like that in all areas. But in these particular communities, the connection between the resources and the availability to get the resources seems to be the major problem. There's a huge connection display where the parents aren't able to get these children the resources that they need, and in certain circumstances, it's going to be more beneficial to implement these programs in an educational setting where it's a direct link to the child's access. And then another would be supplying the youth with some hope for the future. A lot of times children in these areas see what their future is, and they come to terms with it at a very young age, and as disheartening as that is, that's a cold reality that we live in. Now, I know that every child that's out there may not have the availability, the resources available to them to get a four-year degree or to become, to get that PhD or master's, but at least if there can be vocational training that's instilled from a very young age that allows these children to at least have a career that they can be proud of and be productive members of the workforce, because that's a huge population. About 28% of the entire poverty-stricken population that are eligible for the workforce are not involved in the workforce, and I think that would be one of the most beneficial aspects, is just creating a sense of pride in occupation, which doesn't exist there right now. And I think that pretty much wraps it up. I hope that everybody can take this to heart and see what some possible solutions could be and how that can be implemented into the future as far as creating a little more beneficial world for everybody to live in. Have a good day.